percent which you have in your project in your national currency, or it is necessary not in the euros and not in the euro national currency, because in our case we are not eligible, and in this case our private banks are suggesting us a very low rates, and it is well, a lot of money.
It's important that, as I mentioned, personal costs, you can only take the average hourly rate of the previous years. In Hungary you can have a contract in euro. Theoretically, I can pay my people in euro, then I can report in euro what in 11 weeks. It's quite complicated in Hungary, because then the amount that the company has to pay for social security, it changes from month to month. So it's very complicated. So we are always paying in the national currency. Even if we have a subcontract in euro, then we have always the text in it that we are transferring the amount to national currency. It's paid out in national currency. So we can have a contract in euro. We can charge it in euro. From that point of view easier. I don't have to change it.
But what is a what in Hungary?
What is what?
Amount of what?
VAT 27%, very high. But as a company, when I buy a computer, I can deduct the VAT. A university cannot deduct the VAT from a company. In the case of a university, the VAT is eligible cost.
Yeah, I just recently joined one of the consortium, and we were founded. So I have a lot of questions about financing and management of these finances. And one of these questions is the overhead money. What the cost categories are under the umbrella of overhead money?
So overhead is as I mentioned. So in the project, you charge to the project. Are you an area company or a university?
No, we are an institute. We are a non-profit organization, government.
Yes, it means that so you don't have to report the indirect costs. It's a kind of a present. So your institution can keep the indirect costs. You can do it what you ever want. So you don't have to report it. And for the indirect costs, everything should be covered. What is not in direct relation with the project. For example, you have an accountant or a financial director. You cannot count the work of the financial director to the project, but he or she has to make the financial report. So the costs of the financial director are a part of the overhead, a part of the indirect costs.
I asked this question to our coordinator about the financial director. I asked the question, and he told me that I want to involve into my project financial director, of course, and a lawyer, and a manager for the sales manager, who procurement manager. So all these costs should go to the overhead or not? Because he told me that everybody has to be paid from the salary, from that part of the cost category which is determined as salary.
So it depends on the project. So you can employ people in the project in connection with the activity. So, for example, if it's about nuclear physics, I cannot employ a lawyer. If it's about public procurement modalities of physical research, then of course I can employ a lawyer. If it's a coordinating and support action to bring together countries of the Eastern Partnership and European Union, I can employ administrative people who are organizing meetings. If it's about biochemical research, then I can of course employ the researchers. But you know, sometimes it's strongly dependent on the coordinator. So at first you have to be able to satisfy the coordinator, and the coordinator has to be able to satisfy the commission. But usually if it's an experienced coordinator, he or she will know it. So he or she will be able to lead you.
I think Mr.
Normally it is written as a guide for
€1,000. And you say, okay, this public procurement procedure costs money. I have to pay a fee to an office or to some lawyers. The question, how is it doing? Normally, the fee of such it depends how it is written in the proposal text and later in the description of action. If it's in the description of action that these costs are eligible, then they are eligible. Just look on the description of action. What kind of costs are there listed? What are eligible? These are the eligible costs, or the other costs. So from the indirect costs, you can cover all other costs what appear. The question is, in the case of a big organization, what the boss is saying, is it in or is it not in? Is it covered or not covered by the indirect cost?
Georgian researchers, of course. I have two questions. Would you like consider a situation when we have half and full employment, additional salary? And second one, can you comment on the calculation of a work month? Or in the, yeah, you understand. Because I compared sometimes during proposal preparation, my European partner calculates sometimes 0.2, 0.5 coefficient. What it means. Thank you.
So that I have here a slide on it. Okay. Sorry. On the one hand, you have all the effective hours worked in a year, and all the money paid out, including costs of labor. You divide it. This is an hourly rate. And yes, thank you. And maybe we need. Yes, it's the back. Sorry. So this is an hourly rate, and then you have in our case we are working in an average person in average months 140 hours. Then a person month is 105 times this hourly rate. This is how I calculate the costs of one person month. But I always, when we report, but at first we are working in the planning. In the planning, you can ask as a person month a typical salary, what was typical in the previous calendar year. So if there is a Hungarian institution involved with 3,000 euros, if our company is involved with 4,300 euros, if a German organization is involved with 7,000 euros, it does not mean anything. If in your institution you have the typical salary of let's say 200 lari, 2,000 lari, this means 2,000 lari, and let's say you have additional costs of labor 500 lari. Then in 2,500 lari, then you are around 800 euros. It is very low. This is one of my answers. The second, you said, it's a good question. In the most of the projects, a lot of people are not full employed. As an example, we have in a typical project 18 person months, what is written in the proposal and later in the description of action for a 3 years period. If you divide it, it's a half job. And this half job is divided between 3 persons. It's possible. One is working a quarter, and others working a sixth, and then one again 1/12. of person months. Only 1 month a year. There's another person who is working two months a year, and there's a third person who is working 3 months a year on the project. This way we have 6 person months. But these are questions you have so you cannot give general solutions, because sometimes I can see that people who are not really experienced in financial reporting, it's not even easy to raise a question. You have to solve these problems individually and ask for help with NCP. If you would be in Hungary today, just ask me. I come and help, but it's quite far to Georgia. It would be quite expensive for you to hire me. Although we are ready, but
I don't know.
if you pay only the travel costs and the accommodation, it's even quite expensive. But we do it for Hungarian enterprise. If somebody is coming and asking me, we are giving this information free of charge. It's just helping our customers.
I assume that we will have much problems in relation with this, because the
because you know, is in our university the salary varies very wide range. In my university, for example, we have salary from
300 lari to 1,000 lari. How we can calculate in this case? This is problem.
In this case, you can calculate the salary of the person who has 3,000 lari. 3,000 lari is not this yes. Then you can take the 3,000 lari. Of course, you have some costs of labor. Additionally, I don't know what the ratio is in Georgia. In Hungary, it's 23.5%. You add this, and this is the amount you can charge. Additionally, you can receive this 8,000 euros for full-time equivalent.
My final question. Okay. Somebody will control in real.
Might control. They will look. If
I will clarify. In my team, I have these variations from 300 to 2,000, but they will perform the same job. You know, the output of their job will be the same. Why I should pay differently for the same job?
Yes, you can apply this 8,000 euros. Additionally.
Okay, thank you.
This is additionally.
Okay.
So in your country, it's something.
Okay, thank you.
In Georgian Technical University, we have problems relating to weapons scientists funding in the projects.
Related to what scientist funding?
Weapons scientists. Oh, sorry, weapons scientists.
I understand.
Understand?
Weapon.
Yes, I understand.
Weapons. Mass destruction weapons. So as far as you know well, there are two categories of scientists. First category is weapons, and second others. And relating to international agreements supporting the weapons scientists, which have opportune legal force relating to other intra-state normative acts. Do you know some legal regulations, comments or to regulations of weapons scientists funding?
There are no special regulations to any discipline. Yeah, the only regulation is you can pay the hourly rate of the previous year. If it's a person month of the associated professor is 2,000 lari in a month, then you can pay 2,000 lari in a month from your project. Additionally, this 8,000 in a year. If it's 30,000 lari in a month, then you can pay 30,000 lari. Independent if it's a biologist, a physicist, a linguist, or any weapon scientist.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Anybody.
I mean the simple one. Weapons, scientists.
And just clarifying, sometimes it happens that some are paying more. It happened in Hungary last time at the Technical University. The biggest Hungarian university, they paid 6,000 euro a month. And an audit was coming. And they told, no, you have to pay back the money. Because the 6,000 euro is not real. Nobody's interested if it's real or not real. It is not documented in the papers that this was the salary of the previous year. They wanted to support the scientists with these high salaries, and they have to pay back, because it's coming out that the typical salary is 2,000 euro and not 6,000.
Association agreements. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our one is a non-military funding program. It does not fund research that is in the direction of weapons or military issues. To keep this in mind, please. President, thanks to our previous presenter, Dr. Bella Cardon, for its informative and very interesting presentation, and also for his encouragement not to fear of failure. Yeah. Yes, I just recall the famous quote by the Irish writer Samuel Beckett about this, about the failure, not to be afraid of failure, that is very popular among world champions. Yes, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. So, no, please not be afraid of failure in terms of participation within Horizon 2020 programs. Now, as I know, you all were distributed the work programs, and I hope that you already managed to look through the work programs and the content of work programs according to your thematic priorities, and you are all aware of, in general, have a general overview and insight about the contents and thematic contents of the course that are already open and that are will be open in the next 3 years. So, in order to provide more information, more advice and tips about the course, their specificity and the rules to successfly participate in this course and start preparation as early as possible. Our colleagues, NCPs from health, ICT, and food security will provide you more information and advice, tips that you should take into account when starting preparing project proposals for your course. So the floor goes to Dr. Mayakoja. What's the format? They will pose questions and we are ready to answer it.
Okay, maybe I will do the presentation. So why I decided to make a really very short presentation to make more visible what I would like to tell, and maybe it will raise more questions related to the work program, because it is really recently launched, this work program. Okay? Yes. So, this is first triennial program. I will not stop about it, and of course here you will find the topics only for 2 first years, and next year, 2020 year, details will be published a little later. Now about the priorities, very shortly. We have 7 main priorities, yes. And here are a lot of very interesting topics, and I'm sure that our scientists will find the topics which will be very interesting for them, and all of them are really very good, very interesting, very deep, and the main, as was told not once today, is to find our topic, to find the topic in which we are experienced, and we have a network previously. As well, it would be nice if it is network, or we can find a network which we can join. Very shortly as well, to push our activities, yes? These 7 priorities will be implemented through 3 calls. And these 3 calls have opening dates and deadlines. And as you see, opening dates, the part of the calls opened in November. And first stage for 2-stage projects will be, first stage deadline is recently in February. It is very short time. And in April is the deadline for the 1-stage calls. So we must be very active, very so engaged to do our best to be involved in the consortium, or be leader of the consortium, and so on. And of course, the other calls as well are coming recently, very fastly. So now about what I would like to present today for this panel is that, of course, all priorities are very interesting, but I would like to point out one priority. This is priority 3, infectious diseases and improvement global health. As I know that Georgia has really very good experience in managing of infectious diseases, in work and in research of antimicrobial resistance and so on, and as well in non-communicable diseases. And as you see, here are main directions. What will be foreseen, what we must reach if we will be involved in these projects. And why I decided to choose this priority, because in the description of this priority you can find that relevant to this priority are upscaling interventions in specific diseases to populations in low and middle income countries and in vulnerable population of high impact countries. So I think that it can as well more fit Georgia, and maybe it will be we will have more success in this priority. I'm sure as well, once more, I would like to tell that other priorities are as well very interesting for us. Now, here are the topics. Of course, I will not read these topics, only I would like to show that here are infectious diseases and non-infectious like hypertension, diabetes, and I don't know how many, I know representatives are from the health area, but of course, these diseases are very distributed, and I'm sure that we can find very interesting research directions. So here is NTP and so on. And one very interesting coordination and support action. This is number HCO06. So this is still establishment of international network of social science research centers. Very interesting, still with built-in country capacity in low and middle income countries to better support global efforts, can be one of the expected impacts. So, and the last what I would like to say, because this is not presentation, once more I would like, this is discussion panel, and only for the beginning of this discussion I would like to give the information that in all priorities are the policy drivers. For example, in this priority, and this priority is linked to the action plan of these policy drivers. And of course, if we are going to participate in any of the priority, we must know these policy drivers and we must be familiar with their action plans. For example, like Global Alliance for Chronic Diseases and so on and so on. So, thank you very much, and I am looking for your questions and further cooperation.
Dr. Givi Kocheradze will present makes a brief overview of calls that are contained in the work package in the direction of ICT. That is a very crucial topic and is spread across all directions of Horizon 2020. Almost all calls.
Okay, but what on ICT? Because I have another scope of interest as well. And I want to draw your attention that first, in our country, in Georgia, ICT National Contact Point was established in 1997. When I arrived to Brussels, met with Klaus Walker, and he approved draft for establishment in Georgia National Contact Point in ICT, and it was established in Georgia in Tbilisi State University. And all scientists in other fields as well, for example, health, energy, material sciences, and others were coming to me, and I gave them necessary explanations during this period. In 1999, I was involved first in Idealist project, which is a network of ICT NCPs in Europe. But it is not a single project, but it's a cycle of projects. For example, now we have Idealist 2018, and next year we are starting a new Idealist project. And main tool of Idealist project every time was a partner search and organization of brokerage events. These brokerage events, for example, last 5 we had in November in Vilnius, 2013, outer in Florence, in Italy, and the most representative was in 2015 in Lisbon. About 5,000 specialists from Europe arrived. Last year in Bratislava, and now it was in Budapest. What is important for this brokerage, I am so glad that Rustaveli Foundation gave opportunity to our scientists, and in future will give opportunity to attend these brokerage events, because it's quite a big chance to meet researchers from other European countries and speak about the construction of new consortiums. And what I want to tell you, I can share with you with my experience. When I arrived now to Budapest, I was in the team which is organizing this brokerage event, and I have obligation, but at the same time I had booked meetings with my colleagues from several countries. And first of all, it was I made selection of the calls in which I would like in future to make a proposal. And for example, widening and twinning call, in which recently we submitted proposal 10 days ago. It was together with Georgian Technical University, with participation of Italian, Spain, and German companies. But in future there is such opportunity, and I intend to do it in ICT area. You see here that it is possible in future. Another one is not in ICT, but it has elements of ICT, because it's a human factors and social, societal, and organization aspects of disaster resilient societies. This task is suggested to me by Georgian National Academy of Sciences. And why? Because our National Academy of Sciences is involved in Sendai program. It's a United Nations program which was launched 3 years ago. Georgia Academy of Sciences is in 10 unification European organizations, academies, and universities, which name is ELIA. And I have now negotiations with them. If they will take coordination of the project. I have already a consultancy company which will prepare this, and I think that it will be successful. The next one which I want to tell you is another area in transport, but you know that this year, a month ago, this Bagot-Tbilisi-Kars railway connection was opened, and there is a call in which this is implied. And we have, together with my colleagues from Azerbaijan, and we have also a consultancy company for it, intend to make a proposal for it. Yes, and the next. And next one is proposal in clusters. Last time I am very interested with these clusters. I will speak about it a little bit later. And I want to tell you that there is a lot of cluster programs in COSME. COSME is a supported program of EN, European Enterprise Europe Network. But at the same time in Horizon there is a cluster program. What? I know, and we especially asked our Ministry of Economy, and I have a meeting with the Deputy Minister in 2 weeks, and I know reasons why we are not, but Ukraine and Armenia are members without paying, and probably it is possible to do in our case as well receive some decision. And but it is, I was explained with my colleagues from France, from Lyon, that it's very high competitive call, and probably we'll try together to do something with them, together with them. And the last one is Aspire. About Aspire, it was a lot of information, but I want to say that I found here in our country, Georgia, organization in the chemical production. And I have negotiations now with Olga Zirina, and probably we will find also some solutions. And I was asked also, yes, possible, that I can tell you something about the clusters, because in the EAP Plus project, one of the obligations which I have is a mapping and development of clusters in Eastern European countries. And I can say only briefly that clusters has quite a big importance. And yes, and the outstanding economists predict that in future system of capital will be changed, and instead of market it will be replaced by clusters. So it has quite a big importance. In European countries, countries paid quite a big attention. In French, for example, French government spent about 1.5 billion during last year, 10 years, and they established 71 clusters. In Germany, 102 clusters, and so in Hungary, in Poland, in Romania, and many countries. It's a main tool for changing and transformation of the national economy. But in our countries, it has quite less interest. But the positive is the process is going from bottom up. And in Georgia as well, we have some problems because we have a lot of amalgamations, associations, and other unifications. And they feel very comfortable to stay, for example, as an association. But it's our effort for the future to convince them that it is necessary to change the status. Yes, and we made only some practical steps, established new organization. It's a Georgian national cluster national platform. We made mapping, and under this mapping we found organizations and made a network with these organizations. You can see here the number of these organizations. We are making, for example, cooperation with projects, European Union projects currently running in Georgia, G4G, Invest2 and others. And we are making internationalization of our clusters. And I can say that in a very short period, probably next week, 2 Georgian clusters, it's a tourist cluster and medical cluster, will appear on the European cluster observatory map, which is free now. Caucasus region is now free, and also probably in the European cluster collaboration platform as well. And making our organization will be soon become the member of the Balkan Black Sea ICT cluster network. It is predicted on the future meeting. It will be on December or in January next year. And that is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kacharadze, for interesting presentation. As an MH, I would like to add that there is a open call now on the horizon in the direction of ICT, that on the topic of artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So, it supports activities that are aimed to enhance potential of artificial intelligence in all sectors, starting from data analytics, cloud computing, from hospitals, homes, factories, agriculture.
I know only one organization, Institute of Cybernetics, in which this process is doing. I mean research.
Right, and
research.
not afraid of
research,
being failed.
We should consider what's the level of this research in our country, and then compare it with the demands which has this call.
But I believe that it is worth trying in the form at least a task leader. So we are behind the schedule, so I kindly ask our remaining presenters to be brief in its presentation. Okay, Maria.
I also make a very, very brief note. Sorry. I just wanted to inform you, let me very briefly tell you that as part of the EAP Plus project, the project which has supported our current Information Day, there is an opportunity for clusters to apply for the Clusters Grant scheme. And the deadline for the Clusters Grant is now it's the call is open, and the deadline is December 5. So in case you have further questions, we will be here to give you more detailed information about Cluster Grant. But it is now open. The EAP Plus project will be supporting one cluster institution from Georgia, which cooperates with the European Cluster Organization. And the deadline is, again, I repeat,
deadline
December.
is till 4th of December.
4th of December is 5th of December. So check out our website, and we are here to provide more detailed information about the Cluster Grant as part of the EAP Plus project. Sorry, thank you.
Now I give the funding opportunity foreseen within work program in the direction of food security, system, agriculture, and forestry.
Thank you, Nadia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The priorities of this program are present in this slide: to produce more diverse and healthy food from well-managed functional ecosystems, increase resource efficiency and environmental performance of food systems, understand the impact of climate change, and design adaptation strategies, and going global, because there are special actions with Africa and China.
There are 4 goals, big goals in these sub-goals correctly. First one, environment and climate smart food production and consumption, with 5 topics. Building capacity of 6 topics, from functional ecosystems to healthy food, 13 topics, and targeted international cooperation, 7 topics. It is last one is very important to us. I will not waste your time, because there are 48 topics. Everybody can read in the program, published program, but I would like to underline that there are several topics where Georgian researchers can participate. Among them, biodiversity, first of all, because Georgia is a unique country where we have from subtropics, Alp area, and steppes and semi-desert, and so on and so on. So diversity of any groups of organism, micro, plant, and animal are very wide and very interesting for research community. Then microbiome, the system which should learn all chain from raw materials, from to final products, and role of microbes in each stage of final product preparation. Of course, it is very attractive for Georgian researchers. Integrated health approach, then healthy bakery. Then animal welfare. Unfortunately, I didn't see here researchers from animal agriculture, from animal husbandry, or dealing with feed production and so on, because this is indeed is a very good opportunity to apply within this topic. Moreover, some topics deal with and encourage the project preparation dealing with organic food production. And Georgia, with several our mountain regions, is with very clean ecosystems, is very good polygon to conduct very good research and technology developments. By the way, we initiated project preparation dealing with microbiome. There is already halfly completed consortium, and I invite all researchers who have good idea or good approach, working approach, to be involved in our consortium. There are many different topics, indeed very interesting for Georgian researchers, and I advocate for read carefully all the published topics and select for further project preparation. if you will need some advices, I could help with what my limited knowledge. Another sub-call is blue growth. It deals, there are several priorities, several topics, and taking into account that we have Black Sea, this is also very interesting. There are very interesting, attractive topics for participation of Georgian researchers. And last, there are topics, some topics, they are listed, but I think you can find in the published program. And last one, sub-call is rural renaissance. Not all, but at least two topics here are also very interesting for Georgian researchers in, to assist and to help development of our especially mountain regions with by implementation of new technologies and research, fundamental data. Okay. Так. So I prepared several tips on how to succeed. Principally, majority of these suggestions have been listed in presentation of our presenters. I would like, I have nothing to add here, but I would like to comment on several conclusions. First of all, from my personal experience, I am sorry for such declaration, but I should underline that nobody, we in Europe or other parts of the world, nobody wait us to participate. This is reality. Moreover, FP and Horizon exist half century. In Europe are established many consortium, well organized, well balanced, and it is very difficult to be involved in this consortia. Very difficult. But it doesn't mean that you or we should not participate. We should not try. Yes, we should. Because step by step, the quantity will be transformed into quality. My example, I was participated in preparation of 4 projects. I have now very good network. I have partner and maybe 30, 40 teams for different parts of Europe and countries. And now, depending on the topic requirements, I can invite to conduct complementary research with my team, or contrary, depending on the topic requirement, I can suggest my research and my idea as complementary research. Moreover, one of coordinator from Finland of the consortium, I mentioned about it, which is under preparation now, addressed me and asked me to participate, to be involved in the consortium with my team on the base of experience and knowledge of my team. So, information about your teams, about your research, about your achievements should be open and visible. It was underlined several times here, and it is true. Try to publish in reputed journals your papers. Try to show your potential, and I believe that step by step we will be succeeded. Thank you for your attention.
Professor Teimuraz Kutshalia, who will provide you information about funding opportunities envisaged under the European Research Council, in particular consolidated grants, right?
I won't take much of your time. Please don't take me for arrogant, but I'm very weak in all this, grant and eligibility, whatever, because in our institute we have a grant officer, which is more or less gets calls, and so to say we are writing idea, and then everything more or less is done. So therefore, it's a lazy way what we do, but I must say it pays very well off, because our institute is one of the best in getting grants, and yeah. So therefore, actually, we have kind of BELA on permanent basis, and indeed, I think it's great. And to be honest, I can tell more than BELA told you, and it is about this. Now, about consolidated grant, I have some experience, because so in our institute, I never applied for this because I was already, let's say, above this level. So when we get young group leaders, they get contract for 7 + 2 years, and depending on their experience, either they're coming directly from postdoc position or somewhere group leadership somewhere in other institute, they apply either first grant, which is also there, or consolidated grant, which is for people who have 7 to 12 years of independent research experience, and then they can apply for this. And we have in our institute about 6 young, I would say, young people who have this grant, and they are very successful. Now, I think it's about 2 million per 5 years, highest. And it's very well funded, and overheads and whatever. So everything, more or less, it is a normal ERC grant, and nothing dramatic. What I want to say, actually, therefore, I even don't know what I can provide more than this. What I want to say that I would support BELA, and I would support the previous speaker, that the best thing is just to try. And to try many times. I remember, for instance, in mid-90s, when the scientific frontier, or how it is, human frontier, scientific, whatever. It was unachievable. We were thinking that it's really only Nobel Prize winners will get it, and no way that you can apply. And we applied in 97, 98 we got it. Then next time I thought, no, twice we cannot get it. And 2003 we applied, we got it. It's big money, and it's very, absolutely no limitations. Actually, what you are saying, all these 6 slides I have counted with eligibility, whatever, you can spend money for whatever you want, except you cannot buy your Porsche or something. But in a way, so to say, it's very generous money, and it allows, so to say, only on the end to. So what I'm saying, try, because it is possible, and especially in this case, when Georgia is now a young member, I think it's very good to use this possibility and to apply and to get these grants and to put Georgia on the scientific map. It's somewhere on other maps like rugby or whatever, but let's put also on scientific scientific map. And I think this is what I want to say. I cannot now go into details because it doesn't bring much. Neither you. No. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Maria? Yes.
Thank you. Inform you, those who do not know yet, that our foundation is an SCP for ERC, European Research Council. So 3 representatives of our foundation, we are doing this work to inform potential applicants on how to apply for ERC grants. Recently, Synergy grant was, the deadline for Synergy grant, ERC Synergy grant has been closed. We tried to persuade some of our PIs, principal investigators, to participate. So just take a note, just remember that Shota Rustaveli National Science Foundation is an NCP for ERC, and we'll be more than happy to help you in terms of uploading your presentation, uploading your application in participant portal, just any details that can be related to ERC calls, which are not many, just several schemes, funding schemes. We'll be doing our best to support you in ERC schemes. The next call is about advanced grant and consolidated grant in 2018. So
asked the question, what is if my topic is not, I cannot find them in the calls. There is one call, the future emerging technologies. There you can run with anything, what is very risky, but you have to be very good. And of course you need a consortium. This is one thing I want to mention. The second, you mentioned the ERC grants. The success rate of Nobel laureates is 50%. Do you know why? Because it's not enough having a Nobel Prize. If you received the Nobel Prize 20 years ago, but in the last 10 years you were not active, then it's not enough. They will look on your activities in the last 5 years. You have to present it. It's very good, a Nobel Prize, if you want to get a job in Singapore as a professor, you will get a very high salary. But for ERC, it's not enough. And the third, the Maris Sklodowsky reactions, they are open to you as an associated country. Sometimes a question is raised, is it a kind of brain drain? I mentioned this €8,000 annually, what you can add to the salary of a Georgian researcher. And in a Maris Sklodowsky reaction, you can get this in 3 months. Is this brain drain? I don't know, maybe, but I would suggest try it. If you succeed, go to Western Europe, come back with the rest of money to Georgia and help the others, share your experiences.
Like it was.
Thank you.
You see, you mean this artificial computing, no? Artificial intelligence. But as far as you know, well, UNESCO has closed already the artificial computing due to unreasonable efforts. And we have come to natural computing now, for information. Thank you.
Thank you. No, we can come in the back. Yes. There's no question. In the back.
To thank you for this very important informing session. It's not a question, but about my remark, or maybe not. You know that everyone knows that Georgia is a developing country emerging for the independence. So we are newcomer for the European Union, the home house, as we say, and we do not know how to make these standardized proposals for the grant proposals, and it's very difficult for the science. Most of the scientists who work on different stages and the different directions, how to make the proposition. So maybe it the European Union, the Horizon 2020 program will somehow to consider to make it easy for newcomer countries to get these proposals or the project. Okay.
I can tell you that the two-day meeting and sessions were devoted to this question, to show you, and our guests from Hungary are here because to show you how to make it. And besides of it, Rustaveli Foundation, universities are making such sessions in which it is every time explained what to do. First of all, it was somebody, I don't remember now, indicated that first of all, you should be registered and receive PIC code, personal identification code, appoint LIAR, and to establish necessary contacts with your European colleagues. I think that it is a first steps you can do. And to attend all such type of meetings, which is organized by the Ministry of Education and Science, by the Rustaveli Foundation and all these organizations.
Besides, I would like to add.
Sorry, I decided to add because Katie, Professor Katie Zaridze, Dr. Katie Zaridze is from my research area, from health, and she is from National Center of Disease Control, and I know very well that they have some, they are well involved as the partners in some consortia, and I have looked through the part which they have done. And it was great, really. So I don't think that if you will do more and more, you will be very good because you are really very good. You have very good experience. Yes.
Yes, and I would add one more issue that as a beginner, I advise you first to identify, search and find and identify the call that best fits your interests, where you read the call and find out the topics and themes where your research capacity excels, and then start to find potential partners and join as a task leader, a regular member for the first time. It is better strategy for beginners to join the consortium, already functioning consortium, as a regular member, bring your added value topic where you excel to this consortium, and start participating in Horizon 2020. This is the best strategy for beginners.
Excuse me, I didn't want to emphasize about the our experience of the about the institution I'm working for. Actually, I have to say the National Center for Disease Control is one of the leading institutions within the country.
And it is an NCP for one of the direction in Horizon 2020 as well. Yes.
Yes, and I have to mention that we made not many, but two of these proposals within the consortium, but it didn't succeed. So for the people, especially for the scientists who have the routine work and also are involved in other research projects, they are reluctant if it's the quality and criteria is very high, especially for the Horizon 2020. As this NCP from the Rustaveli Foundation mentioned, the synergy grant has expectable for the Georgian scientists. Yeah, the criteria, for example, it should be the, it was mentioned that the science IPs should have the three patents and other, yeah, it's very, how to say, very limited people, the scientists in Georgia could achieve this criteria. So maybe somehow to make it easy for the countries like us. But we have good potential. From my point, I can say that we have good researchers and the scientists who are working and have the experience outside abroad, especially in US. Most of them are. But anyway, it's not easy to come into the Horizon 2020 projects, but we are very eager to participate in. Sorry for this.
Maria will partly answer to your question, I guess.
Let me reflect on this. First on synergy grants, and then on the rest of the information that I also wanted to share with you. You are absolutely right. When it comes to the ERC synergy grant, for instance, the deadline of that was on November 17 this year. It is about 4 principal investigators from 4 different countries to write a proposal together, and 4 PIs apply. One of them is a leading PI and applies for the ERC grant. It has excellent criteria. You need to be really with the frontier research and excellent to participate in it. But the feedbacks that you receive from the ERC when it comes to the evaluation is a very valuable feedback as well. In case a proposal does not succeed, then they really write a huge report on what was there that was not good enough, that was lacking in your proposal. So that could be one of the things that you should also consider in case your proposal is not taken into consideration from the first stage. But really, the feedbacks that you get from the evaluators is the best feedback, probably, letting you know how to improve your project for the next years. But then, yes, this is ERC with the high standards and also with unprecedented ideas. And your idea may still be, I mean, you may not believe in it, but it may be the best idea to be supported. Another issue that I wanted to highlight is Shetaru National Science Foundation has drafted a new grant scheme called the Preparatory Grant Scheme for the Horizon 2020 projects. What we want to do is to introduce a funding scheme as part of our national funding schemes and support those grant projects, those proposals who were not successful enough to the next stages, but were eligible. They were sent, they were eligible, and they were not a little bit good enough to be supported, to be financed. So we're working on this scheme on how to enhance the participation of Georgia's researchers in Horizon 2020 projects. There are several schemes. One of them is supporting those projects who are not funded, but the Georgian participants were work package leaders or task leaders. So Georgian participants participated in the consortium or applied for the ERC grant and did not succeed to the end, but did a lot of efforts for that, so we want to support them in that regard. So there's this preparatory grant scheme that we're working on, and we have submitted it to the ministry, and we're waiting for these sort of legal issues to be completed. So we envisage it as a part of our national funding scheme. So the list of the 20 national funding schemes that you are probably well aware will be also enriched by one of these schemes, which will be called Horizon 2020 Preparatory Grant Scheme. And we will have, of course, information days on it, how to participate in it, what are the aspects, which criteria will be supported. But this is something that we want to think about together with the ministry to support Georgia's researchers' participation in Horizon 2020 when they invested time, efforts, they submitted, they were eligible, but they were not funded. So this is what we want to consider for the next year as well. And we have written all these documents, which will be framework documents for that. We have submitted it to the ministry, and we're waiting for the final conclusions of that. Maybe from the next year, we are eager to start to launch these calls with different sub-calls, so to say.
Probably a request or a suggestion to Ruskavelli Foundation, I think. The thing is that I have heard that there are already funded projects under the umbrella of Horizon 2020. So what are you planning to do to support this project? Because I think that it would be very nice and reasonable and helpful if you would perform the trainings for these people, especially for the managers and accountants, because this is a specific area where we are not experienced enough. And it is very, it's not so easy to become aware in 1 month or 2 months and start the project. Thank you.
You mean already funded projects, yes. Right? I believe if in Georgia we have, no, the question was that already funded H2020 projects in Georgia.
Support measures for
in terms of capacity
It's
building.
not about money. It's about
capacity building.
It's about capacity building. Actually, one of the first things that we want to do with already funded H2020 projects is to invite them and also to invite other possible applicants and share experience from them on how to learn from them. But maybe before I continue.
I think I understand the problem. You have a Horizon 2020 project, and maybe the researchers are aware what to do, but not the administration. You have an accountant. This is a case what happened in Hungary. It was on my slides that you get financing up to 85%. If you are not a very rich institute, what is an accountant saying? You can spend the money what has arrived. It means you are not able to spend the 15%. Somebody has to be able to explain to the accountant that you will get all the resources available from the Horizon 2020 only if you spend 100%. If you spend only 85%, then you will get 85% of the 85%.
Yes.
So these are things what have to be explained.
Yes.
And I think if this is a problem in Hungary, maybe this might be a problem in Georgia too.
This is one of the
On how to address this problem of capacity building. This is not in the next year's budget, which I know for sure that the capacity building for the already funded Horizon 2020 projects. We are now at this stage when we are thinking about how to motivate and how to increase the capacity and how to engage in Horizon 2020 projects. But the next is really, a lot is dependent on the research universities and the universities administration. The universities should somehow take the ownership as well, and they should maybe invest in terms of capacity increase of their accounting, financial offices, of their research grant offices. We also believe that we need to communicate a lot with the national research universities that need to take care of those kind of issues. At this stage, I think that this would be on behalf of our foundation, this would be ours. I think that this is a university and also the research center should be ready for that. Maybe. Would you?
Of the application. So,
ERC?
who yes, in Georgia, in Germany, I know. So, who is eligible, so to say, director? Or,
no.
So, what is the level?
It is just a very similar scheme for everyone. The Georgian researchers in ERC participate just like the German researchers would participate. In terms of starting grant scheme, they participate depending on when they defended their PhD thesis, 12 years. It's just the same scheme, funding scheme all over the world for the Georgian participants but very often, like this year, there was a huge interest in synergy grants. And there is an interest in advanced grants as well, advanced grant scheme as well. We want to promote a lot in terms of starting grants as well for the comparatively junior researcher. But the same rule applies to Georgia as the rest of the world.
Yeah, I understand, but democracy is democracy. Also, democracy in one land is not democracy in the other land. So I can imagine that also in Georgia and Germany can differ. So. Is it indeed that, for instance, an institute of, I don't know, whatever, biochemistry or plant science, which does not exist anymore, but so that group leader who started several months ago can apply for a grant, or who can apply?
It depends on the funding scheme. If you're applying for the starting grant, you should have defended your dissertation up to 7 years.
And
last 7
does it
years.
really work? And the director says yes, you go for it, or when money comes, then the director doesn't take it.
The procedure is the following: when the PI, principal investigator, the applicant applies through host institution.
Okay.
So host institution administrator, head of the administration or head of the director should express the willingness of the institution, and not only the willingness but also the readiness to support the principal investigator, the applicant, whoever the applicant is.
Yeah.
So it's up to the universities. I think that the university should just vice versa should be, because it's a lot of 25% as well.
Okay, good, great. Because I'm spoiled by Soviet times. You see that everything their time was determined by
No, the
chiefs.
universities. I think the universities, they are really support. If there is somebody who wants to apply, how was in your case? You applied for the ERC grant. Did your university support you?
Yes, of course. Very good for partners from Norway, Germany, and Italy.
Right.
So very good people.
Yes, okay.
Did anyone else in this audience apply for the ERC grant? No. Okay. Good. Yeah, but we had this year we had up to 10 applicants from Georgia in the ERC grant. We'll see how many of them were eligible. And then the rest statistics will follow, but it's the principal investigator, whoever it's a junior researcher, consolidated grant, or synergy, they apply through the host institution. And the host institution writes a commitment letter, the readiness letter, that the project will be fully supported in this. Yeah, if they want those 25%, then they have to do that.
No questions, so we can announce our
Question
close.
appeared during the job.
In practice. I hope that you received information you received throughout this day today will be useful and will help you in preparation of project proposals, in starting searching partners and joining consortia, and in successful, all your efforts will end up by successful participation in Horizon 2020. Yeah, thank you. I will pass the floor to Maria for conclusion.
I just also, sorry for speaking all the time, for being interested. If we can do anything in terms of disseminating information, we are here for you. We will be sending out all the emails with the links of the work programs happily. I would like to thank our NCP National Coordinator, Natia, for her participation as well. In terms of NCP, she's the one who coordinates NCP works in Georgia, and we hope that our NCP network will be enhanced and we will have much more capacity to address the challenges that we have at this stage. And once again, thank you very much. This meeting is recorded for your information, and together with the huge list of materials that we have provided, it will be also uploaded, and you will be able to see the recording if you want to, or if you want to share it with other colleagues. We will be sending you the link as well. So the recording will be there. And please be so kind to fill in our feedback forms, because this is something that will teach us how to do a better information day for the next time. Thank you once again.